The challenge I've got is which company, which product actually work, which don't. The science is there in certain papers and everything else, but the difference between efficiency and effectiveness is like efficiency is doing things right and effectiveness is doing the right things. And I think that really resonated with me, is because you could do the things really well, but they might not be the right things. Good evening, Nick.
Back. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing fantastic, man. How are you?
How are book sales? I've got to ask that question first. How has the launch of your book gone?
Oh, that's a question I can't yet answer because I haven't actually looked at anything. I looked at it a few days ago. Honestly, we're not selling millions at the moment, but we are selling some, which is always good. And I have had good feedback from people that have picked up the book so far. Some who have picked up the light version has got through it already. It was really sweet the other day. A sort of a cousin of mine, she was reading it with her husband, her daughter. They were all kind of going through it and doing some of the breathwork activities, some of the meditation activities, and sending pictures as they were doing it. So that's been quite good. So yeah, big thing is I'm relieved and happy that it's out. It has been that 10-year journey. And also, I can't remember, I think I did share with you a picture. So, and probably what we'll talk about today is the event I was at recently. But it was called the Health Optimization Summit, which is this big kind of biohacking summit. It's more about biohacking than health. So there, and it has become a little bit too trade show like for me. I went to the first one 6 years ago and it was slightly different. It had a few sponsors, but it was more about speakers. This time it was held at the Business Design Center in Islington. And as soon as I walked in there, I was like overwhelmed because there are 120 different vendors. The whole floor is, and it appeared to me to be just like other trade shows.
It's a growth thing, isn't it? Biohacking is
Yeah,
like,
it's gone
it's
big, and
very
the
on
guy's done
trend.
really well with the marketing
Yeah.
of it, but it just meant I couldn't get into some of the speeches the first day. The second day, I got into a few speeches and I avoided the pit, as it were. But you get some really interesting stuff there, so I will share with that. But going back to the book, so I was in the trade show area, and I was actually on a device that was measuring different aspects of, I think, hundreds of different readings in my body from different organs, different hormonal systems. And what they do is they send various currents through the body, and based on the resistance to feedback, it shows you what you maybe need to delve further into, whether that with blood tests or anything else. And these frequency devices are often coming from places like Germany and Austria and places. I was actually recently watching a documentary called Tesla's Medicine on Amazon. And I'm not sure how familiar you are, but the quote that I've mentioned in this podcast before, that Tesla's quote: "If you want to understand the secrets of the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration." And I'm a big believer that frequency, vibration, energy, healing is the future of medicine. And the Germans and the Austrians and the Eastern, like Europeans, the Russians, they've been deking this world for 100 years. And so a lot of the stuff is amazing that's coming out from there. Anyway, I digress slightly, but I'm on this thing getting measured, and in the corner of my eye, I see it, the book stand, Dr. Rangan Chatterjee, who's the doctor who I've been following since that
He does a
BBC.
good podcast, doesn't he, as well?
He does a good podcast, which is easily accessible to the layperson. But I first came across him maybe 10 years ago for this program called Doctor in the House on the BBC, where he would go and live with patients for a week, 2 weeks, and cure them of various chronic diseases through lifestyle and diet and a few other things. And so I've been a fan of his since then. And we're both similar age. I think he went to the same uni as a good friend of mine from school. And I saw him at the corner of my eye, but he had a massive queue of people. And actually, his was the talk that I wanted to go into that I couldn't get into because there was such a big queue. And I just thought, I won't bother like going and chatting to him or whatever, because it's too many people and I don't want to accost him, as it were. But as I was walking past, someone in the queue shouted out my name. They were like, "Oh, Harry." And I was like, "Hello." And I think her name was Monica, if I remember correctly. I've never met her before, but she's in a WhatsApp group that I'm in. And she's like, "Oh, I recognize you from the book," and blah, blah, blah. So we ended up getting chatting. And as we were chatting, like the queue got shorter and shorter. So to the point where she went and saw him. And then I thought, you know what, I'll go and chat to him. So I chatted to him briefly, and I was saying a little bit about the book and the model, and I said, I want to give you the book as a gift if you don't mind. And he's like, yeah, I'd love to take it. So I gave him both copies. He said he would read them. I don't know if he did. We took a little picture. But you never know. Hopefully he does read them and enjoy them, and we can progress further
Who
with
knows,
that.
mate? Maybe he'll tweet them or do something and put you into stratospheric zones of sales.
Who knows? I mean, I want to get this information out as he does, right, to the masses, and so having that platform would be great. I would love to be on this podcast one day if he sees fit to invite me on. So that was probably the highlight of certainly the Saturday. But there was a few things that I think that were quite interesting for us to discuss based on that. The
I did
first,
see your selfie with him as well. Was he holding your book in the selfie? Were you holding? I can't remember. But you got
I was holding it because
okay.
I was yet to give it to him. But
You
I'd
did
agreed.
look as pleased as punch. It's like you've met one of your idols. It's a nice shot.
Well, I listen to his podcast regularly and I recommend it. And actually, I forgot to tell him this, but his podcast is recommended in the book, and he is quoted in the book a couple of times. I think the statistic about 80% of doctors' visits being somehow related to stress is directly from something he said and he researched as well. So he crops up in the book a couple of times, which I didn't actually tell him. But yeah, so that was a highlight. But yeah, there was some interesting stuff there. And like I said, the first thing is all the frequency stuff. And actually, I don't know if you saw the post I did, and I've got it on my back, unfortunately, now, so I can't show you. But I bought a little device that is now, how much you believe this stuff or not, I don't know, but it's loaded up with quartz crystals or some very small quartz crystals, which then receive the frequency to certain things. So the one I've got at the moment is for vagus nerve stimulation. And partly because what was interesting is I did a couple of different readings with different products where they hook you up and they send pulses through you and whatever else, and then they see what's going on. And what was interesting is this particular company said very similar stuff to a person that did a different kind of reading 6 years ago to me, which was that effectively there's a lot of energy like in my body, but there's blockages, right? Whether this is the meridians, the chakras, I don't know, but it's like having your foot on the gas and your foot on the brake at the same time. So there's a lot of energy, but yet, there's something kind of stopping it flow. So that's why I took the vagus nerve stimulation one. And I also bought a pain one, which I've actually lent to my brother-in-law who's got a spinal issue. But the frequency stuff I'm really, really interested in because I definitely believe in it. But the challenge I've got is which company, which product actually work, which don't, because the science is there in certain papers and everything else, but it's hard to know with who you're speaking to, whether it's
So this
the-
is a question I had for you today. It's something I'd have really enjoyed being at the same summit, I'm sure, and I love being at a trade show. I love going around seeing what's new, and you and I think our listeners have made feedback to say it's clear we both love our gadgets. We both take lots of different supplements, but you can be overloaded with too many biohacks and supplements, and that can sometimes create confusion. So sometimes clarity is the true optimizer, right? It's the idea of being you walk into a Holland and Barrett or another vitamin store, and no matter what you pick up, you read the label and go, I could do with some of that in my life, right? And you could end up walking out with hundreds of pounds spent on milk thistle and turmeric and curcumin or whatever it is you want, because all these things do wonderful things. But actually, it doesn't necessarily mean our body needs all those things. And actually, sometimes we'd be better off taking a blood test first, finding out what we're deficient in, then going into Holland and Barrett and going, I have a deficiency here. This is what I need to try and optimize my body for and make a more calculated purchase. So I always wonder when you go into these kind of places, when you've got so many options, so much optimization, so much overload, must be really hard. It would be for me to know, why do I spend my money? What do I really need to biohack? And
yeah.
what
I
do I
mean,
actually need? Because it's
this
different
is
for every individual.
this is where the frequency medicine stuff was interesting because one of the things that I was on was it finds a system that needs most attention, and that ends up being at level 100%, and then the other ones are percentage related to that one. But the one that came up the most for me, which is an easy one in a way to test, is testosterone. So it does a hormonal thing. Don't ask me how it works, but it was checking and it was saying the thing you need to look at is testosterone. So I'm curious that, and I was going to buy a separate testosterone test because there was one there for 20 quid, and I was like, I might as well do my whole blood work at some point. So I'm going to get that done to check that out. But yeah, not everyone needs everything, and you do get lost in these things. And there's gadgets galore. There was the saunas there. There were people with their, I think, I can't remember if it was clear light or sunlight and sauna. I think it was clear light saunas. And I was thinking about you again because I was like, you've got like 2 saunas or 3 saunas?
I do have 2. Oh, those, yeah, I've got 2, one outside, one inside, although I
Yeah.
haven't used the outdoor one for some time because I've got that first and then got one in my, had an extension done with a new bathroom and put it in the bathroom. It just makes more sense.
Well,
But yeah.
it does. I mean, that's the thing is that I some people have said to me, "Oh, but you could put yours outside." I'm like, no, because it's all about, and I talk about this in my book, Super Vitality. It's all about having the lowest barrier to entry to do
Yeah.
anything when it comes to
It's
well-being.
the reason why ice tub's indoors and not outdoors. They said to me, most of them are outdoors. I'm like, look, I'm not going out there in December when it's freezing and raining. If it's in my gym and I'm in the room anyway, I'll get in. So, yeah, I get that.
Yeah.
I get
That's the thing. So I was looking, can I fit a sauna somewhere? And I could probably fit a one-person sauna somewhere, but I'm like, you don't want to be in there by yourself, so you need a
I
bit
don't know.
least.
Mine's a one person. I
Oh, is
love being
it?
in there by myself. Yeah, I
Okay.
read.
I was
I
like,
get being like, although it does take all the glue out of a magazine. Be mindful. You go in, all the pages fall out. But I read in there. I just go with my books, my magazines. I
okay,
chill
fair
out.
enough. But I
Single
could
man.
just imagine, like, I don't know, wanting to, like, if my mom was around to kind of entice her into the sauna, or to my niece or someone like that,
I don't know. You realize how much you sweat, and you go, I'm not sure I want to share someone else's sweat
Okay,
in the
fair.
space.
But
If
then
I'm
I was
honest.
like looking, if I go for 2, I might as well go. I'd rather there's a sauna where you can take out the benches and it becomes a hot yoga studio effectively.
Okay.
So 2 meters by 1.6. And
Yeah,
I'm
it's
like,
quite big.
yeah, I'm like, oh, I can squeeze that in somewhere, but it's at the expense of a dining table. So like, which one do you have? And then I thought, you know what, for that price, I could actually join the really fanciest gym here for the next 5 years or 10 years.
What
And
was the most exciting thing or thing you'd never come across that you found at
um,
this biohacking type
I mean,
conference?
like I said, there's a few things mm, that I've not come. Well, what I'm excited about is the patch that I've got on now, because I think if this is good and it works, then and I'm gonna and how am I gonna check this is work? I'm gonna just check my HRV over time. I think that's
Sure,
gonna
you're
be.
lucky you're wearing. Yeah.
I think that's gonna be the best case. I have actually, and I think I mentioned to you, I've recently bought some grounding sheets as well, which I think are also helping with the HRV. So there's definitely something going on, and I feel that when I sleep with this, there's a different sense that when I'm sleeping, it feels weird. I feel a bit more relaxed. Um, so I'm excited by this, and especially if it does something for my brother-in-law. And so I think, to me, I really want to pursue more of this frequency energy healing, especially in the Eastern European countries, because just watching that documentary as well is just emphasizing to me the point that even though I've known about this stuff in my own head before I heard about it from external sources, I think maybe 15 years ago, I was thinking, I'm sure we can heal certain things with
So
frequency.
let me
So
ask a different question. I'm just intrigued. So you at the conference.
yeah.
How much stuff there is around a bit like Ozempic, right? Where there's a lot of fear, people don't want to do certain things. So instead of that, we go, you know what, we don't need to do these things. I'm going to optimize you now, so you don't need to do the things that you may already be doing. You used your example last time we spoke around people buying a Stairmaster when you've got stairs in your house, right?
Mm.
You end up biohacking or buying your way out of actually
Well,
existing good habits. Do you know what
yeah,
I mean? So I
yeah, yeah.
think there's a devilish side to this biohacking. It's great if you're already doing good things and you can maintain them because you're optimizing your health. But you can also use a lot of these things as a substitute for things you're already doing to do less. And that's my concern.
Absolutely. I mean, this is the biggest challenge I have with this field in general, and I think Dr. Rangan Chatterjee touched upon this as well. And this is the whole point, with the book Super Vitality, is that if people just did that, they wouldn't need most other things, right? Like today, for example, at one point I was going to put my infrared and red light lamp on to rebound in front of it, which I often do. And I was like, hang on a second, what am I doing? Like, it's quite sunny today.
Yeah.
So
Good. It's great. It's a perfect example.
yeah, so and I've been doing that whenever it's sunny, and even when it's not sunny, I take the rebounder outside, and I'm getting what I need to be getting anyway. And I feel like a lot of people in the quote unquote biohacking space, they're not doing the foundational stuff, or they're popping their NAD plus, and they're popping their this, that, and nootropics, and I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah, but you don't need all that if you do these things. Like that stuff is great for that last 5%, last 3%. But most people, I'd probably say 95% of people are not doing enough on the fundamentals, like as detailed in Super Vitality. You do that, you don't need so much stuff, right? It's nice to have. But there were some interesting things. I like, for example, oh, that was it. So there was one interesting thing. I didn't have a go on it, but it was a vagus nerve stimulation device. And there was quite a few of those there, but this one had effectively like a neck collar, and it stimulates the vagus nerve here and here on the side of your neck.
Yeah.
And it sends a vibration. And I was thinking to myself, yeah, but you could hum for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, or sing in a choir, right? Now, of course, it's about ease, right? It's a lot easier for 10 minutes to put this thing around your neck while you're working than to go and hum in the shower for 10 minutes or go and join a choir once a week. But the point is, you get the same benefits humming, like creating that, like it stimulates the vagus nerve when you hum. But it also probably when you sing, do those different
It
vibrations.
it's a bit like in COVID where everyone starts sanitizing. If everyone sanitizes so much, you end up getting sicker. You kind of take your ability away for your body to handle the pathogens that are around. If it's like a bit like if you can completely have a dog in your house and you want to sanitize everything, but actually having a dog in your house can sometimes be the thing that
Well,
gives you a more robust and resilient immune system.
the
I
studies
think it's the
show
same in the biohacking world, right? You take all these things and you actually impact your body. You may elongate it in one way, but you're taking away so many
yeah.
other things on the flip side.
So I think there's
It's like
more to
Ozempic
that.
isn't an excuse to eat badly, but people will take Ozempic as an example and go, "Now I can eat whatever the hell I want." And it's like, well, it's
Yeah,
it's
I
not
mean,
just about the weight.
I tell you the interesting thing. I can't remember. There's a few interesting things I need to pursue a little bit more. And I can't remember if it was you or someone else that was asking me about peptides. Was it you that was asking me about
You and I spoke about peptides, but it was a few months ago.
So yeah, it was a few months ago. So there was a few peptide talk. There was a peptide talk I went to, but honestly, it wasn't very. He basically did it as a Q&A, and I think a lot of the people in the room were already further along that peptide journey than me, and so most of it was not super relevant to me. Although I did meet someone casually in one of the socials afterwards who has a peptide store, and I'm going to inquire more about that, especially for like healing certain autoimmune issues using peptides and things like that. So I think there's something really interesting about peptides. So that was interesting. The other thing I would say was interesting. What else? I did meet the guys that do the blue light blocking glasses that I've got and light bulbs, and I recently discovered they do the spotlight. So I didn't think they did. So I'm quite happy to be able to buy those, because what they've got with their lights is that you just put them in a normal socket, and depending on how many times you turn on and off your switch, you either go from broad spectrum daylight to evening mode to night mode. So the same bulb, and you don't need any smart bulbs or smart devices. You just flick on and off the switch. And I've had a few of those for a few years. So that was quite cool chatting to them. And then also there was a shoe company there that has started doing barefoot shoes. They're a startup. So they're grounded shoes as well, so that you're connected to the earth whilst wearing the shoes because of the materials they use. So that's quite cool and interesting. But the talks that I want to talk about with you now, I found quite interesting. So the first one was this woman about eyesight. So she claims, and I've no reason to disbelieve this claim, and there's thousands of testimonials and everything, and I've been looking into this stuff myself for about 15 years, to be able to reverse poor eyesight without the surgeries and glasses and everything else. And I came across many years ago, 15 years ago now, something called the Bates method. So this is about over 100 years old, maybe 140 years old, this method of reversing poor eyesight naturally. And that uses what she calls mechanical ways, so different eye exercises, techniques, and things like that. But her idea, and she needed glasses from the age of 3 years old. She's now, I don't want to guess, but I think probably in her 60s. And for the last 20 years, she reversed her eyesight like 20 years ago, and now has been spending 20 years preaching. I think her Instagram, let me just see it here, is Holistic Vision Coach, 100,000 plus followers. So Holistic Vision Coach, and she has some courses to help it. But from what I understood from most of her talk was a lot of it was stress related, a lot of your eyesight stuff. And I resonated with that because sometimes, for example, if I've had a poor night's sleep or if I'm not feeling great and I put contacts in, I'm still like blurry. I just don't take them out and I just go back to glasses. Other times when I'm feeling rested and my eyes are good, I put contacts in. I'm quite happy with them in. But anyway, a lot of her course, from what I can understand, is about how to activate that parasympathetic nervous system, that vagus nerve stimulation, and relax. Because a lot of your eyesight, your vision doesn't come from your eyes, it comes from the back of your brain and how the light comes in and is red. And so even though she was saying that sometimes people could still be red where it looks like they've got a prescription or need a prescription because of the light hitting not the retina correctly, the brain has adapted to compensate and to actually read it properly. So I'm not doing a great job of explaining it, but there's definitely something there. So that was interesting because I was looking at, I'm getting a little bit fed up with glasses and the contacts,
Yeah.
after many years of doing it. And I,
Fed up with the aging process, I think it's called, Harry.
well,
A
the
little bit.
challenge is that I wear glasses now because when I have got the contacts in, I can't read things like the menu in the mobile phone. So I don't want to wear glasses for two things when I'm wearing corrective lenses. So I tend to not wear contacts very often. But glasses are not very convenient either, especially, if I'm traveling, because I end up having sunglasses, normal glasses, blue light blocking glasses, all of these things. And I was looking at various, there's corrective methods like LASIK, but then there's another one called EVO LCL, which people don't really know much about, or haven't really heard, but it's been around for 30 years. It's basically you put like a lens within your lens, which is reversible, unlike LASIK, which shaves off things. Honestly, I don't want to do any of those, but I am curious on the eyesight side of things and
Okay.
practicing it.
So you'll be investigating that. We'll watch this space.
I
What was the
will,
other?
but probably not till next year because there's other things. The other interesting talk that I went to was about stem cells. So I'm very interested in stem cells because I've had, as you know, knee surgery, meniscus partially torn out. I'm a big believer that stem cells are going to be a very important part, not just now, but in the future for healing. But this guy, he was doing a talk. So usually to get a stem cell, you either get it through, I think, your bone marrow, right, which is quite a
Yeah.
painful process, or your body fat tissue. You can get a donor stuff, or you can get mesenchymal cells, like the placenta cells, or from like embryos or something.
Yeah, that's why I think if you go back in an earlier episode, they really stem cells definitely from the embryos. That's why you can get a service for those who listen to this who may be pregnant or planning to have a baby or know someone that is. There's a service where they will collect your placenta and harvest the stem cells from it, and it can be game changing if you end up with a later problem where stem cells can solve something for you. If you get the most, you can harvest them from the placenta. Most people don't do it. When you don't do it, you lose that opportunity. And it's a relatively inexpensive service. They've got to be in and out like almost immediately because then the afterbirth is there and you haven't got a amount of time to rescue it. But they'll come
Yeah.
in and take it and store it for you. My sister's gone through that process. And it
Okay.
means that
Well,
there's something that
this talk
happens and they need it later, they can use
this
it.
talk might render that obsolete, because basically there's different kinds of stem cells, but one type which is called a pluripotent stem cell, are stem cells that can literally become anything, and
Yeah.
don't become cancer. Like the challenge is sometimes stem cells, because they can become anything, like they might become cancerous, blah blah blah, or whatever. But pluripotent stem cells don't. Now, this guy, he's a doctor or research doctor from Sweden, I believe. He earlier this year read a paper by some Greek scientists who claimed that they could get, what was it, like 60 million pluripotent stem cells from blood drawn from a person. he didn't really believe it at first, and so he tried to mimic their study. And long story short, he found out as well that you could draw blood from someone, you effectively spin it in a centrifuge. I think either before or after, you keep it in a fridge for 4.5 hours or 5 hours or something like that, and you ended up with 60 million pluripotent stem cells that can be put into anywhere, and put back into you. So it can be literally like a day treatment, and very much cheaper than going abroad and doing things. And he had some case studies in the last sort of 6 months of people, and you could see things like cartilage regrowing and crazy stuff. And so that is really exciting because it's not about getting placenta-based ones. It's not about getting it from bone marrow. It's not about going to Mexico or Thailand and getting it done there. For again, still 7,000, 4,000 pounds, but you can, get your blood drawn in the morning, come back in the afternoon, and have stem cells injected into the local site.
I would
Or
imagine it probably depends on what you need them for. I mean, bone marrow transplants have been proven to be very targeted and useful in dealing with issues which require bone marrow transplants. I
well, I
don't
mean, the
necessarily get
bone
the same
marrow, not transplant, because you're getting the stem cells from the bone marrow, is to get the
but
stem.
as in they have specific cases and causes. So you can use stem cells for cancer treatment, but you can also use it to rebuild tendons and cartilage and all the different bits and pieces. I don't know. I would feel very nervous recommending that you don't need to go through those processes if you're going through a cancer treatment because you've seen a talk at a thing and he's
Well,
recommended
I'm not
it.
recommending anything to anyone, but what I'm saying is that if you're getting pluripotent stem cells from just blood, as opposed to those other ways.
But it's found naturally in bone marrow, fat tissue, and umbilical cord blood. That's where in the umbilical cord. That's why the placenta is useful. That's where they get it from
But
because
it's
it
in
comes
blood
through.
as well. There's stem cells in blood. So
Yeah, well,
this
uh,
kind of magnifies, and this process magnifies them massively. I'll see if I can find something. I don't know if he's done
I
any
definitely
talks
have my
online.
skeptics hat on right now.
I if the talks come out online and I have access to them, I will
Yeah.
send you that talk. So I'm very interested to learn more about that. I mean, I don't think it's anything I'm going to be doing in the next 4 to 6 years. But I'm thinking about stem cells for, when I hit 50s and 60s or whatever.
Listen, I think
Um,
if there's a service out there from a biohacking perspective which can help regenerate damaged tissues in cartilage and things like that, and that can do it, I think maybe fair enough. But I think if you've generally found a process here which can mitigate or reduce the need to extract those naturally found in bone marrow and umbilical cord blood and things like that, then the guy's going to be a billionaire. And I think we probably wouldn't be talking at that talk doing
that,
that. No.
yeah, but we're talking like this is 6 months, 8 months,
Yeah.
right, ago. So
But
it
watch this
it
space.
it's early. It's early, yeah. So
I'm probably
very,
slightly sensitive to it because a friend of mine's been using stem cell treatment in his cancer treatment. It's worked really, really well.
yeah,
It
but
has
we're saying
been
stem cell stuff does work, but it's like
yeah.
how you access it, right? If you can access it in a way that is not as invasive, then brilliant. So they were things that I was excited to learn more about. So both the vision stuff, the stem cell stuff, the frequency stuff, there would probably be the big three. I mean, a lot. What other talks did I go to? I didn't go to too many talks because on the Saturday I was not going to too many talks, and honestly, some of the stands are a little bit overwhelming. But you have your usual stuff there, like it was like, vagus nerve stimulation. You have blood test drawing. Um, what else did we have there? Oh yeah, we have like stacking biohacking things. So for example, vibrational plates with hydrogen inhalation. I know you're a fan of hydrogen water,
Yeah,
so
well,
hydrogen
yeah.
with various chromotherapy, not just infrared, but also then vagus nerve stimulation and audio guidance to breathing. And it was this big device. I didn't actually have a go on it in the end there, but they're from America, and they've actually put it into a friend of mine. He's opened up effectively in London Bridge a biohacking shop or center where he
Yeah.
has different things. So he has a cold plunge there. He's got various PEMF mats. He's got power plates. He's got infrared lights, and now he's got this device, at least temporarily, while they
It's
kind of
big. I
store it
mean,
there.
I shared some of the advice. It could be big money. I shared. I won't share it publicly, but I shared a retreat that was given to me, and the costs of the retreat were just extortionate. And you got what? An access to a sauna, a 45-minute massage, you got an ice bath, whatever treatment, and then you had a chance to speak to some specialists and have a yoga thing, and it was like 1,500 quid for a day, and the day was like starts at 8 and finished at 3. I was like, oh my god, you can buy your own sauna for that amount, let alone go to a thing and have half an hour in one. I was like, I couldn't believe the cost of it, and that was, by the way, that was an early bird discounted price for
Yeah, but
a day. I mean, it's a
depends who
schooling a
you're
living.
it depends who you're marketing to, right? So that particular retreat was marketed for business owners, CEOs, and things like that. And if they charge 50 quid, 100 quid, or 200 quid, they're not going to get those people on it, because a lot of people perceive value with cost, even though it might not be. And that's just the way it is, right? People are like the phrase I like, right? People that pay attention. I've said this to you before. I've said this to people who want a free copy of my book. I'm like, well, no, people that pay attention. You get something free, you don't really value it in the same way. So if I charged 10 grand for my book and people read it, you can bet your bottom dollar they're going to savor every single word in there, and they're going to really like take on board what's in
Yeah,
there.
maybe.
Yeah, absolutely, right. And so
I was just
uh
couldn't believe anyone would pay the price they were. Hey,
yeah,
look, I guess,
I didn't think it was like beyond the realms of possibility for a corporate type thing where they're spending that sort of money. Do I think that's valuable of value to me? No. Um, but but actually, if you want something a lot cheaper than that, and you get like basically all that, so like my friend's place in London Bridge has got all of those things. I think it's called Holosophy, so they're a free plug for him. But you can go there for a 15-minute reset. Try some gadgets. They got portable PMF mats, all sorts of things. So yeah, I like all that stuff. But I think, like you said earlier, for me, the challenge is that most people I speak to, I'd probably say 95% of people I speak to, and I'm talking including people in the wellness space, are not doing enough in the other foundational areas to warrant some of the additional gizmos and gadgets. Um, but each to their own, I guess.
Mm.
So whatever floats your boat.
Well, absolutely.
So yeah. But anyway, it was an interesting thing. I don't know whether I would go again or not, just purely because it was quite an expensive weekend, and it was effectively a bit of a trade show. But having said that, if by this time next year, I'm on Rangan Chatterjee's Feel Better, Live More podcast.
You'll be happy
Yeah,
whilst
and I mean,
whilst
with
on
that,
an IV drip for stem cells and,
this is the thing, is that like sometimes you just need to get one bit of nugget,
oh,
one bit of progress. You might go to an event for 4 days, and this has happened to me before. You go to an event for 4 days, and the nugget you get is from no one on stage, but it's from a conversation you've had after the event in a cafe with people who are just having a social. Then it's worth it. You're not gonna rarely are you gonna get it from the thing you thought you were gonna get it from. You're gonna get it from somewhere else. So um yeah, so if for example the frequency cell thing that I've got on me is helping my brother-in-law and he feels less pain, I'm gonna be a fan and be buying those things for him, and
absolutely.
and
Happy
that's
days.
that's helped him, right? So yeah, you just don't know. You don't know.
I had a look at I had a little gander at the stem cell piece, and it says you can harvest. So harvesting stem cells from blood isn't new. It's done by specialist companies, but the stem cells found in blood can only rebuild blood and immunity. They're called HSC ones.
Yeah,
However,
no,
hold
that's
on,
the
let me
thing.
finish. Let me
That's
finish.
what's different.
Let me finish before you jump in, because you can challenge it when I finish the statement, or we'll confuse the listeners. However, it says if you want to regenerate a knee, repair skin, or calm the immune system, you need a specific type of stem cell known as mesenchymal stem cells, which only live in bone marrow, fat, or umbilical cord tissue, not in the bloodstream.
So, hang on a sec. So, what is the difference between a mesenchymal one, which
And an
are the ones
HSC,
that
HSC stem cells, which are the ones
pluripotent?
found in blood. They're called hematopoietic stem cells, HSCs, and they're the most studied types of stem cells. They're already widely used in medicine. They are used for, they're found in red blood cells, white blood cells, and platelets. They're used for blood cancers, bone marrow failure
Okay,
disorders, blood
here's the
disorders,
difference.
immune system resets, chemotherapy, but they are not there's nothing in the blood that provides you with the mesenchymal stem cells, which are the frontier of regenerative medicine. Hematopoietic stem cells are the proven veterans, are the older ones, but not for cartilage or any of those things. They're a different type of stem cell.
Okay, so here's what I've read as well, right? So I've asked Google, giving me an AI overview. I said, are blood stem cells pluripotent? And here it says no. Naturally occurring blood stem cells or hematopoietic stem cells are not pluripotent. They're multipotent and can be different and can only differentiate in various types of blood cells and immune cells. So now I'm going to break from what AI is saying. This guy, positive, has said that this process has harvest pluripotent stem cells from blood. That is a game changer.
Ask whether or not you can get mesenchymal stem cells from blood. This is the report I'm looking at is very clear that you cannot. They only live in.
But that's not what I'm saying. He's saying.
No, but you mentioned things like cartilage and regeneration.
Yeah.
They're the ones that are used for those processes.
Okay, hang on a second.
So they're known as MSCs. HSCs is the one you mentioned. MSCs is the other. The MSCs are there for cartilage, tendon, all those kind of things. The others are made for other kinds of
well, the question is, can pluripotent cells become cartilage, really? Because let's have a look what it says there. Yes. Pluripotent stem cells, such as embryonic stem cells, and
such as embryonic, which is different to what's found in blood. Are MSCs available in standard blood? That's the stem cells that are used.
That doesn't matter.
I think it does.
No, because you're caught up on that being the only way to generate. Like, if a pluripotent stem cell can become cartilage, which it can, and you can harvest pluripotent stem cells from blood, then the stem cells from blood can become cartilage.
Yeah, there's a few big what ifs in the middle of that, though, isn't there?
No, because what he's claiming is that
there's the first question mark.
Well, he's got the evidence, the science, and the data and the case studies to show that he can generate pluripotent stem cells from blood.
Yeah, my jury is definitely.
Let me ask that question and see what Google says. Can you get pluripotent stem cells from blood?
I like the debate. I like when we have a little disagreement.
It says you can get pluripotent stem cells or cells that can be induced to become pluripotent from umbilical cord and adult peripheral blood.
Yeah, peripheral will be around the umbilical cord, so that'd be the placenta.
Adult peripheral blood, not peripheral around the umbilical cord.
Peripheral would just. Why would it say with the word peripheral? It would just be blood.
I don't know. Let's have a look. Here's a breakdown. Blood from the peripheral bloodstream can be used to generate iPSCs. This is often preferred method because it's less invasive and easier to collect than other sources like skin biopsies, which can be done with a single drop of blood. So you can get pluripotent stem cells from blood. Yeah.
So what it also says, if you want to go further into the research, so there was a Nobel Prize given in 2012 by Shinya Yamanaka, who was the first person to create a pluripotent stem cell, or iPSC as it's known, which can become any cell type in the body. So that means it could, in theory, become an MSC. So I'll answer your argument. However, it does say, with big warnings, these lab-created MSCs, which says what he's doing, are being studied for the same purposes as natural MSCs and joint repair, tissue generation, and immune, which is great. I understand why they're looking at it, but it says there are major safety concerns. iPSCs have proven to form unwanted cell types or even tumors if not carefully controlled, and more research is required before being used in a clinical practice.
I'm trying to find this guy's stuff.
So that'd be a bit more nerve-wracking. You end up going down this guy's thing, and they realize that later research says if you go down his lab-based process, you end up with a tumor and cancer or someone else. So, although you're right, it can happen. It can be done. It was proven in 2012, not by him, by any guy won a Nobel Prize.
No, but that's not what I'm saying, that he's proved that. But it's getting the numbers, because there's usually not enough in there. So this process gets the numbers up massively, I think.
It opens the door to personalized regenerative medicine, which is, I understand why it'd be at that kind of conference, but there are still major risks attached.
So he is normally not at these kind of conferences. He got seen by one of the organizers somewhere and was invited to speak. But I'm gonna find a little bit more. I can't find right now anything from him that I can
Well, the
share
good thing
very
is, from your
easily.
perspective, mate, it can be done clearly because it's been proven in 2012. At the
Yeah, but
moment,
this
it
is
suggests there are
about
major risks with doing the lab-based process of it, and the safest place to get them without the risks attached is from the 3 sources we mentioned earlier. So the risks have only formed when they've been changed from the blood stem cells into whatever the pluripotent one. So there's obviously risks attached. It's not as simple as
uh,
a transitional change.
well, at the risk of kind of going back around the houses, I think here we go. Small pluripotent stem cells. That's also the challenge. Is that it was they're a lot smaller. God, it's all in Swedish. Damn it! I wonder if I can convert it to English. So look.
No, it
Yeah.
doesn't matter. It's good to have a little bit of debate. And what I would say is anything we talk about on the
All right,
show,
here we
like,
go. So
hold on, hold on,
normal
hold on,
blood
hold
stem
on.
cells.
You're going to go in. Hold on. I just what's really important for the show is people do go and do their own research because we've done a few things. We've talked about some interesting subjects. We've talked about microdosing drugs. We've talked about loads of different things. Always do your own research and don't. Yeah, we just have a chit chat and we do our own. We
Okay.
live our lives differently.
All right, I want to share this with you because I found the translation on the site, so major difference in size. Right, normal blood stem cells are usually 7 to 10 micrometers and can only be used to regenerate, repair blood products. In comparison, mesenchymal stem cells are, are 17 to 18 micrometers. Two smaller subpopulations have been found and identified in normal blood. The small blood stem cells, which are 5 microns in size, and very small embryonic stem cells, the SELs, sizes 1 to 3 microns. These cells are released into blood circulation after situations of acute stress, both psychological and physical. That's the bit I forgot. I remember. So these came in stress, but he could create the stress without being stressed by putting them in the freezer. So stress unlocks the smallest cells with the biggest potential. In the last months, we've been analyzing blood samples of different individuals under different circumstances using an advanced cell counter, new the STEM, to measure cell contractions, cell type and size, as well as percentage of active live nucleuses. We found a huge increase in VSELs concentration, the very small embryonic cells, whatever, during and after stressful situations. I'm not going to go through all of it, but I will send you this because I think it'd be interesting to you. So basically, yeah, that was it because the size is smaller and you only get these when you're stressed, but then you were able to like basically make the blood more and more stressed by putting it in a freezer, and it produced more and more of these cells. I think that was the takeaway. And I think he was quite adamant in talking about how it doesn't carry the same risk of becoming cancerous and all of that. So yeah, we'll see.
Yeah. While you were doing that, I was doing my research on the other side. It just said the risks of lab-generated MSCs from IPCSs. So far, tumor formation, known as teratomas. Pluripotent stem cells can, if not fully converted into MSCs, continue dividing uncontrollably, forming tumors called teratomas, a mass containing many cell types like bone, hair, or muscle in the wrong place. Rigorous purification is needed to remove any leftover pluripotent cells. The process of reprogramming blood cells into IPCSs can introduce mutations, and these mutations can increase cancer risk, tumors, or reduce long-term safety. Your body may suffer with immune rejection, even with your own cells. In theory, using our own reprogrammed blood cells should avoid rejection, but lab handling can alter how cells are recognized by the immune system. There's functional uncertainty. Lab-made MSCs may not behave exactly like natural MSCs from bone marrow or fat or umbilical cord. Some might lack the same regenerative or immune calming properties. And outside clinical trials, there's a danger of poorly regulated clinics offering unproven therapies. Contamination, impure batches, or inadequate testing can all cause harm, cancers, or worse. So lab-made mesenchymal cells is exciting because it can offer an unlimited personalized supply, but at the moment they don't outweigh the risks where even a few cells aren't fully converted, they can form tumors, which is why this field is still in research and was not yet mainstream medicine. There you go.
Okay. Well,
Maybe
whilst
he's cracked the code, mate. Fair enough, and we'll watch it. I'm sure we'll
yeah, well,
watch it with
I've sent you
interest.
I've sent you the link to the website explaining it, and then also the paper that's been published and is being
Yeah,
presented.
maybe who is the guy that's cracked the code? If he has, both of us will probably be watching that with
Mm.
sort of in anticipation. I'm always mindful of not making sure our listeners understand the
Yeah,
risks.
at the end of the day, listeners hopefully are intelligent adults who realize we're not doctors and we're not telling them to do anything or not do
No, but
anything.
it can be evocative because it can be used in cancer treatments and things. It can give people false hope and stuff like that. So I just want to be mindful.
Well, I'm all for hope. Yeah. At the end of the day. So, whatever gives it, especially like from my personal concern, right? Because obviously, I'm not saying that this is possible yet with any kind of stem cell, but I've only got 3/4 of a meniscus in place, right? I'm sure at some point in the future, there's gonna be a way, whether it's like adding scaffolding in there, made out of stem cells, whatever, to generate, because the cartilage that got regenerated in the images I saw is more like a squashing of a cushion. So imagine like the cushion loses its puffiness and it's puffy. My situation is not that. My situation is a quarter of the cushion has been taken away, so it's different. And so what I'd like back is that quarter of a cushion at some point, you know. So we shall see. We shall see.
Oh, listen. I hope you're right. I'd much rather you be right and me be wrong because it'll be transformative for many people, right? So, listen, I'm very happy for this guy to be the guy that's cracked the code and get it right. That'd be an amazing thing. I probably come in with a little bit of skepticism or caution, but hey, look, I'm happy to be happy, very very happy, in fact, to discover that he's done well. I'll definitely read the report and follow it for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I've sent you it, but I haven't read it myself yet. But I'm going to read it now because I'm curious to know. But yeah, so we shall see. We shall see. But yeah, that was an interesting little piece from the weekend. So
Yeah,
I'm excited to see where that develops.
it's good.
And that's basically it. I think from that, it was yeah, it was a fun weekend. I connected with a few people that I hadn't seen for a bit in that space. And yeah, it just reminds me that it's good to be around at events and doing things.
Well, we'll be
Uh,
filling your community bucket as well. You're getting
well,
out there and
actually,
about there.
yeah, I went to a very small scale health thing on Friday, which was maybe like 10 people at a place here in Brighton. It was someone that I haven't seen for about 10 years. She was running her first event. I thought I'd go along and support, but also from a networking perspective to find people in the area. So I met some interesting people. Some people had like regular jobs who were accountants, mortgage brokers, lawyers. Then there was other people who were a little bit more out there. There was one woman who is, I don't know how old she was, but she's got like a teenage child and stuff. But she teaches women how to have proper orgasms and things like that. So she seemed like quite an interesting character and everything. And she felt like the last 5 years have been her transformation period where, she was never feeling like in her body enough. And so, she's gone down the whole tantric route, she's gone down different routes, and she's come to this point and she helps, women of all ages, especially those around menopause, perimenopause, rediscover their bodies, rediscover their sexuality, all of that. And so, yeah, so it was quite interesting. And then also what was really funny is a lady came up to me and she was like, "Harry," and I'm like, "Yeah." And she goes, "It's Stu." I was like, "Stu." And we had done our master NLP practitioner courses together. Her husband was there as well, who I also met 15 years ago. So it's actually when we did our first cycle trip, that period of time, that's when we started,
Very
and
good.
we haven't seen each other since then. And she's like,
Well, you were saying these conferences, you can get your nugget towards the end, but optimization isn't necessarily about doing more. It's not about taking more or finding more. It's about doing what matters, right? That's what
"Well,
really.
yeah."
I
I
mean,
mean,
everyone like the guy you watched. What's his name? The guy who does all the biohacking. Richard. No.
uh,
Who's the
Brian
biohacker?
Johnson. Brian
The guy
Johnson.
who does the series. I can't remember his name. Brian.
Brian Johnson.
Yeah, Brian Johnson. It's like the health span isn't just about years in life, right? It's about life in years. And the way he lives his life is not the way I want to live mine. He can live to 120, but I don't want to live in that confined, routine, only go outdoors when the sun is, all that kind of stuff. Like you've got to there's two ways of
Yeah.
looking at it. You want to extend your life, of course you do. You want to make sure you're living your life at the same time, and there's a
Yeah.
balance.
What was it I heard that I think it was in Tim Ferriss's book Before Our Work Week, he quotes someone and he says the difference between efficiency and effectiveness is like efficiency is doing things right, and effectiveness is doing the right things, and I think that really resonated with me, is because you could do the things really well, but they might not be the right things. So
You've got to do things that give you energy, man. Energy is the currency of well-being. If you feel energized, you feel positive. Like I'm all up for you doing your vibration stuff. That if it unlocks those energy chakras or whatever for you, I would definitely be taking that further and investigating it, because I think it's energy is what moves the needle.
well, of
That's what
course. I mean,
uh,
that's
keeps you positive.
the one and only. No, not the one and only, but it's an equation that is in super vitality. E equals mc squared, right? And actually, the other equation where energy appears in that book is when it comes to performance, right? Because a lot of people in the working world think that performance is to do with your skills, which it is, right? Your skills and your knowledge, your behavior, right? And your experience, and it is. But the missing piece from that equation is energy. And that's actually what I talk about in the first chapter,
Yeah,
because
well,
energy is everything.
I
Right?
totally agree. But I think, we were talking right at the start. I mentioned the idea of going into a vitamin store and going, I need everything here, when actually we don't. So clarity is the best biohack. Like for you, you know what you're trying to do, whether it's your cartilage problem or whether it's releasing those energy blockages. Like be specific, have clarity on it, and enjoy the journey, do whatever gives you the energy, because you need that. Otherwise, you go in and you just get bamboozled with all these different gadgets, vitamins,
Oh, it can be overwhelming.
peptides. It's overwhelming, and every single person you meet, every single store will convince you you need it,
Yeah.
and you can walk out like like a gibbering wreck. You lose all your energy going, "Oh my god, I didn't know I needed all this stuff." So
Honestly,
clarity is
that
key. Like
that
get
was
really
me the
clear on what it is
weekend.
you want to optimize.
I walked out knowing that I needed to walk out, because I
Yeah,
went in
that's a
and
good way of putting it. Yeah,
I get overloaded with
yeah.
because I'm not used to so many inputs as well. So there was a lot of people, a lot of lights, a lot of Wi-Fi, a lot of all of this, and a lot of people trying to. And I'm like, I need. And honestly, I probably would have left within 10 minutes had I not paid ridiculous money to be there,
Yeah.
because I was like, this is not for me. And then after a bit, I kind of, you know, sat down somewhere, took my space self out of it, did a few other things. But honestly, those kind of events are too much. And so what I needed, and it all comes back to being aware, is I was aware that what I needed was to step away, or what I needed was to go to more talks and be less in the
It's
in the
it's
pit.
look, clarity is about doing what matters. Like for some, you could I'll give a good example. I'll call it busy bravery, but I can when my dad was unwell, and else we both lost our dads since we've been recording these shows, and he had terminal cancer. I could easily throw myself into more work or more supplements or another treadmill run, when actually the thing that gave him the most energy was doing the hardest thing, which is actually giving him a call and seeing how he is. But doing that is difficult because you've got to face the truth. Is the treatment working? Is it not? But
Mm,
having that connection with him, doing what really mattered, doing getting the clarity I actually needed, rather than living in that space of doubt of, is he getting better, is he not? And tell you what, I'm going to biohack my life now. We're going on a run and make myself healthier. The actual thing to unlocking that energy was having a conversation with him and going, hey, how is it going and how are we? And having that connection piece. But I'm saying this as someone with experience of doing this. I would throw myself into distraction, often very healthy distractions, by the way. They could be sporty, they could be running, they could be doing health oriented things. Sauna, sauna, for God's sake. But I'm not necessarily doing the thing that actually matters. And that's what I think. Optimization isn't necessarily doing more. You can do those things. It's really about doing what matters and having clarity about what that thing is. Now, for you, obviously, a lot of your vision, your clarity is around having that vitality for yourself, and you're very clear of what your body needs and very clear of what it doesn't, which makes you going into these conferences. You can go in with that clarity of mind. But other people, including myself, by the way, I'd just be like, I
yeah.
need everything.
I do that a lot with people.
Going without an Amex or without a credit card for sure.
You go in there with an empty suitcase, and you're
It's
gonna
like
come
going into a
out.
casino, right? Go into a casino with nothing more than 50 quid, and if you spend it, you spend it. If you don't, you're all right. But
Yeah,
otherwise, it's just dangerous.
I've got a fair amount of self-restraint, especially in these sorts of things, so, but we'll see. But I still walked away having spent some money. There
Yeah,
we
good
go.
lad. Well, it was inevitable.
Eras,
And
yeah.
I'm interested in the peptide space. You know, that I know I spoke about
Yeah,
before.
that'd be something I'm gonna look into as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've tried a couple already, actually. I think I tried one called B157, which I think was good for, but again, it's the science is so you don't know if it's a good supply, you don't know if it's what you're taking is legitimate. You get it on Amazon or wherever you go, and it's like, oh, I don't know if this is actually doing anything. But for the people who don't know, they're small chain amino acids, aren't they? They kind of build up proteins and can help
Mm.
with specific kind of rehabilitation, but
People who
they're
are
very
fans
expensive.
are big fans. People who are fans are big fans of
Yeah, they
peptide.
are. Yeah.
And
Well, I was
and I
persuaded by another biopeptide fan, to be fair.
Yeah, and I
Um,
I believe there's something to it, but like you say, it's about, sourcing. I feel like the person that I had a conversation with, has a good, vision on it and
Well,
source
keep
on
me
it.
posted on it. If you know them personally and can trust them, I'd be more
Yeah,
inclined to
I
give it
know
another
them
go.
personally now, very loosely, but I do feel a level of trust that I could.
'Cause it's good for injury, rehabilitation as well, isn't it? That's the other
Yeah,
thing.
and also you've got y I mean, you might be able to tell quicker than me because I mean, you had your hamstring go 3 times in a year, so it might be quite interesting to see, I don't know, if there's one for that. I mean, I mean, full disclosure, well,
Funnily enough, I bought the B I think I'm sure it's called 157. I bought them when my hamstring went the first time.
okay.
That was what persuaded me to do it because the guy was saying this will really speed up your recovery. But
So
it did speed up the recovery, to be fair. I was back within sort of
okay,
2 weeks earlier than I anticipated, but it went within 3 minutes.
right, yeah, that's the thing, easy come, easy go,
Felt
but,
like it was better. It wasn't, you know,
yeah,
BPC 157, that's what I
I'm
went
gonna
for.
wait because I'm seeing a medical practitioner on the NHS actually for something that I may or may not have. So I don't want to talk too much about it now, but it's an autoimmune condition that I may have. And I was talking to this peptide guy about it, and he was like, "Oh, actually, no, I think we've had people can get rid of that with these peptides. So I don't want to do anything until
Sure. Well, that
later
probably makes
I get
sense.
because then I got something to like, I got something to measure, right? Something very
Yeah.
real. And if I get a diagnosis, which I'm hoping I don't, but if I get a diagnosis of a certain thing, and then I may monitor it with some other things first to see if it was a misreading, and then I may go down a peptide route or something else
Yeah.
and see
Well,
if.
and we know they work from collagen peptides are kind of mass appeal, aren't they? They're mass market, so they
Mhm.
work in other things. I just yeah,
Mm,
yeah.
yeah.
I'm
So
sorry to
it's
hear
not.
about that. Keep me posted on
Yeah.
what the doctor says. Yeah.
We'll see. All right. Anyway,
But we're
um,
leaving with show on a low note with that
no, we're
you
leaving
just
the
dropped that
show,
on
I
us
think,
there.
on a hopeful note because the peptides could well be an answer to something. So,
Well, I hope so, buddy. I hope
yeah,
so.
so
But
that's good. All
well,
right.
look, we've had a debate. We've learned a little bit more about biohacking in our thoughts, and we'll watch stem cell recovery with interest. But
Mm.
good to see you, buddy, and we'll catch up soon.
All right, man. Take care. Take care, everyone.